Hi guys, I just wanted to give you an overall tour of your Zoom account. All right, so here's my desktop and I'm in Zoom right now. And up here you can see my control center. But when you sign into Zoom, you want to make sure that you do it the single sign-on way. So go to epiccharterschools.zoom.us and then click Configure Your Account. You want to sign in that way. Once you sign in, here's your dashboard for Zoom. So you want to save time by scheduling your meetings directly from your calendar. So you want to download this Chrome extension. When you click on that, it will open up the Zoom scheduler and add that to your Chrome, and so that you can sync it to your Google Calendar. Let's go back to the dashboard. So on the left-hand tab here on the menu bar, let's go to Profile. Here's your profile. You can go to your personal ID meeting room and edit it. I edited mine to my phone number. I just thought that would be easier. A personal link, you can customize it. I customize it to jennifer.robinson. And that's about all that I changed on this page. Now let's go to meeting settings and see what that's all about. So I changed a few things in my meeting settings, and let's go through all of those settings. So on this host video, you can select this bar to on to start meetings with your host video on. If you'd rather start with it off so you can get ready and then turn your camera on, turn this off. You can turn this on so that your participants start with their video on. They can change it during the meeting, but that way you can modify that. You can change your audio type. I leave it on telephone and computer. On this join before host, if you select this, you will be able to allow participants to join the meeting before the host arrives. I would caution you against selecting that because your students can join before you get there, and they'll be able to interact with one another without you present, and therefore they won't be monitored. And you know, kids, they act crazy. So I would leave that off. You can require a password for personal meetings if attendees can join before the host, if you want them to have a password. Same thing for if they're joining by the telephone. Mute participants automatically. You can automatically mute all participants when they initially join the meeting, and then they can unmute and mute themselves too. This is sometimes beneficial so they're not all talking at one time. Here's where you want to integrate your calendar service, such as Google Calendar. You want to open that. Upcoming meeting reminder. I don't select that because Google gives me an automatic reminder. The chat. Allow meeting participants to send message visible to all participants. I usually leave that on and just teach them the proper way to chat to each other. I do turn off the private chat because I don't want my students to chat with one another in private messages, because sometimes they really can say things inappropriate, or they just don't need to be chatting privately with one another. I have this on because I want to hear when participants join or leave. That'll let me know that someone's left my meeting and I need to find out who's skipping out. I leave the file transfer on because I can send documents in the chat room, in the chat bar. Sometimes I upload documents and things like that. I also select feedback to Zoom if something went wrong. You can do an end of the meeting experience feedback survey. What will pop up is a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and if they put a thumbs down, they'll ask what went wrong. The co-host, you can allow a host to add, you could add co-host to your meeting. That would be good to turn on if you're doing like a co-teaching Zoom. I add polls to meetings. I like to do polls every once in a while just to make sure that they're not asleep. Allow host to put attendee on hold. Always show the meeting control bar. I like to always have that popped up in case I need it. Allow to share Zoom windows and desktop sharing. I like to put that on. Annotation, allow your participants to annotate. If they start annotating all over everything, then that's where you want to do some behavior modification. Allow participants to share a whiteboard. That way you guys can work on some assignments together. Remote control. This is during screen sharing. The person who's sharing can allow others to control the shared content. Nonverbal feedback. Participants in the meeting can provide nonverbal feedback and express opinions by clicking icons. I like to have that on. I turn on my breakout rooms. You can split all your participants into different groups. So let's say you're working on like a writing assignment. You can split them into different groups and have them work on different topics and then come back and collaborate. That's kind of neat. The remote support, that allows meeting hosts to provide one-on-one remote support to another participant. You might turn that on so you can, if a student is having trouble, you can take over. I always have closed captioning on. I have this off. It's far end camera control. You don't want another user to take control of your camera. Virtual background. This is where you'll turn this on, so you'll have capabilities to do a green screen behind you and upload images to put an image behind you. Allow users to select stereo auto. I have that on. Allow users to select original sound in their client settings. I have that on. Screen sharing, allow them to share. Attention tracking. This lets you see the participant panel if a meeting attendee does not have Zoom in focus during screen sharing. The waiting room. This is where attendees cannot join a meeting until a host admits them individually from a waiting room. It kind of puts them in a waiting room. Show a join from your browser link. This allows participants to bypass the Zoom app, and I like to have this on because sometimes participants are unable to download, install, or run applications, and so this would be a good way for them to get into the meeting. I don't allow live streamings of the meetings. When you record your Zoom meetings, if you select this, it will notify you when it's ready. Notify hosts when participants join the meeting before them. It'll give you a little email that says, hey, you've got some guests waiting in your Zoom room. You can allow Zoom to notify you when a meeting is canceled, and you can allow it to notify you when an alternative host is removed or set. And have it notify you when there's a meeting is scheduled, rescheduled, or canceled. This is kind of neat, blur snapshot. So you can enable this option to hide potentially sensitive information from the snapshot of the Zoom main window. That's kind of a good idea. All right, and that's all I would change here, okay? So now let's go to meetings. If you select on meetings in the left-hand corner, you can schedule a meeting from here, or you can do it from your Google Calendar. You can also view all the previous meetings that you've had and what your personal meeting room, this is where you can add it to your Google Calendar here. Okay, let's go to your recordings. This is where you can look for all of your recordings. Now, whenever I sign into Zoom, this pops up, the Zoom Pro account settings tab. This is where you're going to manage your virtual background. So select settings, and this will pop up. The first general tab, you can select use dual monitors. I like to use dual monitors because it puts my screen over here, the shared screen. I can keep all my tabs running when I'm teaching a lesson. Enter full screen automatically when starting or joining a meeting. Mine does that. I don't want it to do that anymore, so I'm going to deselect that. Enter full screen automatically when viewing screen shared by others. You can maximize your Zoom window automatically when viewing screen shared by others. You can scale to fit my Zoom window when viewing screen shared by others. You can share your Zoom windows and desktop sharing. You can automatically copy invitation URL to clipboard after meeting starts. You can confirm with me when I leave a meeting. Show my connected time. Show Zoom menu and menu bar or side-by-side mode. Let's look at audio. This is where you can test your speakers. If you've added a fancy microphone, you can select if it's working here and test it out in this area. On video, there are some pretty cool things you can do here. You can enable HD. You can enable a mirror effect. You can touch up your appearance, which is nice. Always display participants' name on their video. You can turn that off or leave it on. Turn off my video when joining a meeting. Hide non-video participants or spotlight my video when I speak. I do that so that students will pay attention to me instead of other kiddos. Select the virtual background. So whenever you want, whatever picture that you want to add, you can go to like unsplash.com. They have some really good pictures, or your own personal pictures. You will add the image here. So just select add image. pull up the image from your drive or your computer and then add it here. I've got all these added. So like on birthdays, I will put a picture of a birthday, balloons up there or something, or if we're gonna go to the beach today, or we're gonna talk about the weather. You can tell my nieces and nephews have been playing around in here. But I like to just change it up a little bit because the kids, they just love it. They makes things a little bit more interesting for them. So that's kind of neat. The recording, here's where you can modify all of your recordings. You can choose a location for recorded files when meeting ends. You can record a separate audio file if you'd like. You can record thumbnails when sharing, and you can add a timestamp to the recording. I don't record all of the Zoom meetings, but I like to record a lot of them, especially if I'm teaching a class and a student missed. I can go back, find the recording, blur all of the information about other students and send it to them. Now let's go to your Google Calendar and see how you schedule. I took everything off of my calendar just for privacy's sake. But let's say I want to schedule a Zoom meeting with my student. I would label it properly. I always label like the student's name and my name just so I can have written notes of what was going on. Or if I'm teaching an English class, I would put that there. Under More Options, once you download the Zoom Scheduler Chrome extension, you will have this option. You might need to restart your computer, but this will pop up. So make it a Zoom meeting. It'll show the link down here and all the directions for the student to join. And you always want to add them. Whoever you're inviting to your meeting, invite them here. Another important note, deselect invite others. You don't want anyone else to have the ability to invite others to your room. More importantly, you don't want your students or anyone to see your entire guest list, because then they would be able to see everybody's email. So deselect see guest list. That's very important. Okay, and then save and it will send it to them. All right, so that's about all I have to give you to show you about Zoom. If you need some help, just holler at me and I can walk you through it.